at the theatre, and thank you so much for coming out to the show. It's still early days of this coming out in public thing, and people are still understandably nervous, so it means all the more that we have you here this evening. We're going to have so much fun. We're going to do all the BGT stuff. We're going to do new stuff that you won't have heard before. There might be some jokes you haven't heard before, but lots of new stuff, because I've had a bit longer to write the show than under normal circumstances. Normally you win the show, then you go straight out on tour, and they gave me some extra time. Lockdown. So we've got lots of new stuff for you, and I'm really excited to be here. It's incredible to be standing here as the winner of Britain's Got Talent, and the longest reigning champion, because they cancelled it this year. We're not going to talk about the guy that came third, because I know he's here somewhere. I'm not going to point him out, because that would just embarrass him. I don't need to point him out, we have a spotlight. There he is. Steve Burns in the house. Amazing, I had to find out what seat you're in and everything. And apparently he hasn't showered because nobody wants to sit next to him. Steve has told me that he said we saw each other for lunch today, and he said he'd be quite happy if you come. He'll be here afterwards with me. We'll be in the bar. He'll happily have a picture taken with you for just £5, and he'll give you that money in cash. So Steve, you trust me. You're lucky you didn't win, because if you'd have won, you wouldn't have had a night off to come and see my show. You'd have been too busy. So, go, take the light on, that's enough. Sit enough. Thanks for coming, Steve. Lovely to have you here. Great work. We went through a hell of a trip together, I tell you. It was an amazing journey, and the journey. I keep saying journey. But the thing is, I've done this for a long time, as has Steve. We've been doing this for 25, 30 years, and you hope to get a break, and I'd sort of given up the chance of getting a break. I was quite happy. I was working. I was busy. I was very lucky. Had a family. I was doing okay. And then in 2019, my best friend saw my show, hadn't seen my show for a long time. He saw my show, and he said, "John, why don't you go on Britain's Got Talent?" And I had the same excuse that I'd used for 14 years, because my kids were, "Dad, go on Britain's Got Talent." I said, "I don't know what I'd do," because at the time I had a very different one-man show. It had comedy, it had comedy magic. It was a very strange. It had singing, it had stand-up, it had piano, and you only got 3 minutes in the audition. I said, "How do I try and do all that in 3 minutes?" And my friend said, "Well, why don't you just write an original song about auditioning for Britain's Got Talent, and then see if you can do it on the show?" And when he gave me the idea, I wrote it really quickly, like 20 minutes. All the thoughts and the ideas were there, quite sincere, and of course, an opportunity to take the mickey out of Simon. You have to take the chance when you can. There was a man who had a dream that one day he would be seen by an audience that had surely come to see a show in Chorley. It's the best I can do at Chorley. And in the time that one song took, David Walliams could write another children's book. Alicia would smile at him, Amanda would be kind to him, Simon's teeth would be blinding him. Nothing now could ever spoil the dream he dreamed, like Susan Boyle. The fact is, he never thought he'd ever get to be in front of millions of people, doing his thing on TV. 30 years of playing in piano bars and pubs, dodging glasses when they're being thrown out of clubs. When he realizes he's older, 50 ain't so far, he's having trouble making all the payments on his car. His children ask, "Daddy, when you're coming home? This game is not the same when you're just daddy on the phone." So he sits at the piano and he tries to get prepared, thinking he'll write it in third person so he doesn't feel as scared to sing about himself to a bunch of strangers in the dark. But Britain has got talent and he wants to make his mark. Paul Potts won the first year and said it was insane. The second year George Sampson won, singing in the rain. Diversity won the third year, and then the world would sing. A dancing dog, he stole our hearts, the winner was Putty. Lost Boys Guy season 12, and then Colin Thackeray stole Line Up Me. That's what he said. His youngest boy one night in bed, "Dad, why not you go and show them what you do? And even though you'll be a wreck, at least you'll meet Anton Deck." And this next bit wasn't broadcast. I did sing this at the Palladium, but they didn't broadcast it. I think I know why. And that's when he tells his son he has to admit, when he meets Anton Deck, how does he know which is which? If Deck is the short one, then Ant must be the other one, obviously, who got replaced by Hardy. When he thinks on stage, at this stage in his life, with an expensive mortgage and a pensive wife. His youngest son Alfie says, what's it all about? If he had any hair left, he'd pull it out. His teenage son said, true story. His dad taught him to play piano, but he didn't live to see his son perform on the theatre or even on TV. If he didn't see it through, imagine how sad the look on the faces of both his lads, who always tell him, you're the greatest showman there. And they saw me on BGT, no more third person, just daddy. This is me. So that's how the overnight success happened. Hang on 1 minute. I don't need that, I'm a Catholic. Now, one for the kids. Have we got many kids? We got youngsters. I don't know what lights you I can't see faces. You seem quite young. Who's that? Hi. Is that Alex? Oh, hi Alex, we saw you just before the show. So we have a 10-year-old. Anybody younger than 10? Just so I know what jokes exactly we can do here. Hi, how old are you? 9. 9? Oh, that's fine. Then you know more than adults these days. Nobody younger than 9? Okay, you might have some questions after the show, but Mum and Dad will happily answer them. Parents are worried. So I started in piano bars. When I was 18 years old, I got a job at the Hilton Hotel in London's Mayfair on Park Lane. Very posh hotel. Playing the piano at the top of the hotel in the piano bar for 6 hours a night for businessmen and their secretary. It was soul destroying. I love to run my fingers on the keys, on the ivories, and you'd have to play requests every night, because that's how you made your tips. You had a glass on top of the piano, and people would give you money when they made requests. Nowadays I don't do requests, unless I'm asked to. But back then, honestly, I can't wait for you. We haven't got long together. Back then you had to learn a lot of songs, and don't get me wrong, I love Billy Joel. If I ever have to play Piano Man again for the rest of my life, it'll be too soon. 4 times a night. Sing out this song, you're the piano. Oh, a great song, but you're playing this stuff every night. Rhapsody and Bloody Blue every night. Somebody thinking they were sophisticated because they enjoy classical music. Can you play Rhapsody in Blue? And then they'd walk away and not listen to it. So it was pretty soul destroying. And pretty soon, life on land in piano bars got a bit boring. And I said to my agent, I'd like to see if I can get on a cruise ship, because I hear that they're pretty good gigs. And within a week, he got me a booking on the QE2 for the world cruise for 6 months going around the world. I wasn't happy. I wanted to go somewhere else. I said, that sounds cool. I'll give it a go. And do you know what? That began my love of cruising. It was absolutely fantastic. What a great way. Traveling around the world and meeting incredible people, going to some incredible places. And that first week on that ship, we did a transatlantic from Southampton to New York. And in that first week, Neil Sedaka was on board. I've always been a great songwriter, Neil Sedaka. Jim Bowen, do you remember Jim? Jim was there, we used to drink beer together. Paul Daniels was on board, and I was into magic at the time, so it was great to hang out with Paul. And at the time, the most influential comedian in the world was the headline star cabaret act. Bill Cosby did his show on board. We had a drink after his show, and I don't remember much else. But it was interesting. It was interesting to meet all these different people. And something that did happen that inspired a song on those early days of cruising. We did one cruise from Southampton to the Bahamas, and then 2 weeks around the Caribbean, and then back to Southampton. So the Brits loved it, because they could go to the Caribbean without flying. So it was full of Brits for this particular cruise. And normally the Atlantic, you'll have 1 or 2 days, a little bit choppy. The weather can be a little bit choppy because it's the Atlantic. For this particular crossing, for 6 days, a force 11 storm followed us across it. That's like a hurricane. Followed us for 6 days. It was horrible. Even if you weren't seasick, it was just annoying because you literally couldn't walk in a straight line. And I did my show on the second night. And on the second night, we still had to chain the piano to the stage to stop it. Seriously, to stop it rolling off the stage. That's how bad it was. And on the fourth night, everybody was really fed up. And in the morning, they phoned me and they said, John, the guy that's meant to do the show tonight, he's a singer, he's seasick. Could you step in and do an extra show? And I said, yes, of course, happy to help out. And then I thought, right, I'm going to have to write some new material. This was in the morning of that day. I said, I know, I'll write a song. And this was my first experience of writing songs under pressure. That's happened a lot since BGT, I'll tell you about that later. But in this instance, I thought, I'll write a song in the morning and I'll do it in the show that night because we're all going through this together and everybody was fed up. So I wrote a song called The Seasick Shanty. Unlike the ship, the song went down well. So I'll do it for you. If you've never cruised before, don't let this put you off because this is not the norm. This is not what normally happens. You might get 1 or 2 days. But this is what I wrote, and just to set the tone, we've even got a little background to kind of get you in the mood. We booked a cruise on the internet, a trip for 30 days. Food is all included, we really were amazed. We were looking forward to cruising and to eating on the ship, but they didn't tell us that we'd spend the first week being sick. Seasick, seasick, the ship just passed along. I'm sick, she's sick, we want to go back home. The brochure said that we had booked a Caribbean cruise. It showed pictures of a beach and sun and lots of booze. Maybe in the small print we probably should have read that by the time we got there then we wished that we were dead. The food that they promised us included in the fare was laid out every evening for the passengers to share. I know some people ate it and some went back for more, because when they couldn't find a bag I saw it on the floor. Seasick, seasick, my head's in the latrine. I'm sick, she's sick, we're fed up being green. I was looking forward to dancing in the evening with me wife, but it's hard to dance while holding on and fearing for your life. I tried to be romantic and give her a little kiss, but as I moved towards her, the ship moved and I missed. The gentleman I landed on looked a bit surprised. He held me in his arms and his eyes were open wide. I said, thank you sir for catching me, not letting me hit the floor. He gave me a wink and every night he was knocking on my door. Seasick, seasick, the ship went up and down. I'm sick, she's sick, back to Dublin town. I know when we get there and we're lying on the sand, listening to the still drums of a Caribbean band, we'll soon forget and won't regret the advice from weathermen, until someone reminds us we've got to go back again. It's not all bad when the sea moves you all around. There could be a benefit, a silver lining that I found. My wife felt romantic, so I suggested with a smirk, we'll go to bed and lie there, let the ship do all the work. We booked a cruise on the internet so we wouldn't have to fly. We booked to do it again and hope the waves will still be high. We'll cross the North Atlantic, and if you're wondering why, we got to try positions that we never thought we'd try. Seasick, seasick, this holiday is great. We've both been throwing up so much, we both lost so much weight. Seasick, seasick, now we're having fun. We're bouncing up and down in bed, the holiday has begun. The parents are already nervous. So that's not a settling song. This isn't going to be as family friendly as we anticipated. I do want to talk to you briefly about social media, because that's something that has changed drastically since I won. I don't mean to keep saying I won, I'm sorry Steve, I'm not. That's changed since I was in the show. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, good. So, I've got to tell you, did anyone come and see Steve's show when he was here? Yeah. So those of you that didn't, you won't know this. Steve showed up for the show to come and do his rehearsal, and on every seat there was a flyer advertising the winner's show. I can't believe they did it. I asked them to. I didn't think they would. So yeah, social media. Now I'm a dad, and I've been a dad for a while, and social media's been around forever. But I'm a typical dad. I'm pretty useless at social media. I'm not too sure what a hashtag is or what it does. Still not too sure. Unless I'm playing noughts and crosses, then they make perfect sense. So I'm not too sure what I'm doing with social media, but I've been on it since I've been in this business because it's a necessary evil. It gets audiences, it sells tickets, and I've always collected the comments, the good and the bad, because the good make you feel good if you're feeling a bit fed up, and the bad keep you grounded if you're getting a bit big-headed. I've got my two favourites to share with you. My favourite nice one is from Margaret. Margaret saw my show about 10 years ago and she loved it. And she wrote on social media, "I haven't laughed so much since my husband died." You don't know what she meant. My favourite bad one, and this is brilliant, there was a guy called George. Now, George is probably no longer with us because he was about 90 years old 20 years ago. And George came to the same hotel every year for his holidays. And one year I was the entertainment. And George had a Facebook page, and he was 90. I mean, that alone was quite impressive. But it turns out George had had a pretty rough life. He fought in the Second World War, and a grenade exploded near him, and he took shrapnel in his neck, and some of it was still in there. They couldn't remove it all. His brother, unfortunately, was killed during the war, and also his house was bombed in the Blitz, and his parents were killed. The German bombed his house, and he lost his parents. After the war, he got married, but the marriage didn't last, and his wife left him, and then his kids didn't really speak to him because they thought it was his fault. You get the idea. George had not had a very happy time, and apparently my show didn't help. He didn't enjoy the show. I mean, everybody's entitled to not enjoy the show, it's not a problem, but he felt he had to write about it. I didn't think I'd get anything on social media from a 90-year-old, but remembering how he lived his entire life, his comment was a bit of a shock. The show last night was the worst experience of my life. He had shrapnel in his neck, Alex. Well, I was worse than shrapnel. But this has been around for ages. Alex is 10, we've got a 9-year-old back there. Alex, did you know that there was a time when the internet didn't exist? He's like, no, it's true. And a lot of these people lived in that time. And people still found a way to complain. People would still find, your parents lived in that time. This is true. I know, they are old. Yes, this is true. Even now, if you look at the back of newspapers, the Times, the Telegraph, you get the Dear Sir, the editorial letters. They always begin Dear Sir, very polite. And quite often people complain about stuff. And they've written to the newspaper to tell everybody that they're not happy about something. And that's basically what social media is. And it's still around. You can read it. It's an example of one. Dear Sir, I was appalled and upset at the disingenuous performance thrust upon the unwitting audience last night, and the voracious and lascivious nature of the artistry so loquaciously and licentiously displayed, nay, disgorged upon the throng of assembled dignitaries in attendance. Yours sincerely, thoroughly discombobulated from Henley-on-Thames. Now, they've taken some time to write that, and they've used some very long words to try and sound sort of, intelligent and clever for whatever reason. So even though they're complaining, it's still quite nice to read. So my audition was broadcast in April. It was filmed in January, but it was broadcast in April. And the night of my audition, so happy, all the family watching it. My Twitter was going crazy, people writing lovely stuff. And this. John Courtney is utter shite. I feel our complaints are going downhill slightly. So this has been, as I said, it's been going on forever, and like everything in my life, if something's perturbing me, is that a word? If something's upsetting me, I write a song about it. It's like therapy. From when I was a teenager, every time a girl broke up with me, I wrote a song that would help me to deal with the heartache of the breakup. And I wrote a lot of songs. Wasn't going well. So I thought I'd write a song about it. One of my favourite comments on Twitter, on that same night, somebody wrote, "He's a baldy with a buzzer." It wasn't actually him that wrote it, if you recognise the phrase, I just don't like it. So, this is the song I wrote, and I called it Baldy with a Buzzer. And that, I wanted to use all the real comments, so I thought, I wonder how many other people are writing nasty stuff. Trust me, don't do this. I went through all my social media feeds to find all the negative comments. Then I had to lie down and a little cry, and then when I woke up, I wrote this song, Baldy with a Buzzer. I wrote a little song that was on TV for my audition on BGT. Thanks to Dec and Anthony, things for me got a little crazy. I wasn't quite set for the media frenzy on Insta, Facebook, YouTube and Twittery. So many people supportive and lovely. Thanks to you, it means a lot to me. But for every Skywalker, there's Darth Vader. You can't afford the keyboard. Crusader, gotta take the bad with the good, they tell you. Got this type of material from a few. He's a bit amusing, he just can't sing. I think he is irritating, he didn't deserve it. He's annoying, I guess some people would enjoy him. His songwriting is bad and sloppy, he can't play piano properly. I could do what he is doing if I could play piano or sing. Obviously, what a load of rubbish, that's invaluable. Never heard of him before, that's understandable. Shouldn't have got the buzzer. you're spewing while YouTube viewing. It's not nice to hurt, it doesn't hurt to be nice. Before words spurt forth, made me think twice. Trolls once hid in Norwegian fjords, now they hide behind their keyboard. Now he made the judges guilty, looks like growing up Bob from Nativity. Why did he get the golden buzzer? Seriously, looks like the guy from the pawn shop to me. He's too old to be on TV, I hate him more than anchovy. He's like Marmite, if you don't like Marmite, nothing any short and concise, utter shite. So unfunny, that's not comical, I wouldn't pay to see him, that's economical. He'll never be a star, that's astronomical. I hope he disappears, that would be magical. I'd like to slap him, let's get physical. A body with a buzzer, that's still topical. This body with a buzzer, I'm that chappy. Body with a buzzer, I'm quite happy. Body with a buzzer, paparazzi, make sure you spell it correctly. Body with a buzzer, thank you. Yeah, that will teach them. Thank you very much. So I want to give you a little bit of background because I didn't get a chance to chat much on the show. Look, one sec. My granddad was a big influence on me, musically and comedically. My granddad could play piano and he could sing and he was a bit of an actor and he was a very funny guy. Him and my grandma used to have these amazing conversations I used to eavesdrop. Just brilliant. My granddad said to my grandma once, he said, if I die before you, would you fall in love and get married again? And she didn't even pause, she said yes. Granddad was a bit upset. He said, would you let him sit in my favourite chair? And she said yes. He said, would you let him sleep in my bed? And she said yes. He said, would you let him use my golf clubs? And she said no, he's left-handed. That kept him on his toes for a few years. I remember he was getting worried that she was going deaf, and I was about 15 at the time, but he asked me what he should do. I said, I don't know, I'm 15, what do I do? I said, maybe you should find out how deaf she is. Ask her a question when you get home, and if she doesn't answer the first time, take a step closer, and see how close you have to be until she answers. That will give you some idea of how deaf she is. Grandad thought it was a good idea, so he walked in the front door. My grandma had her back to him in the kitchen. He said, hello darling, what's for dinner? No answer. Took a step closer. Darling, what's for dinner? Still no answer. 2 steps closer. Darling, what's for dinner? Still no reply. He got right behind her. They had a really big kitchen. He said, darling, what's for dinner? She turned round and said, for the 4th time, chicken! He was going deaf, not her. He didn't look too sure. I couldn't tell him he was just laughing politely because everybody else was. My granddad did an amazing thing for me. He did a lot of amazing things for me, but one of the things that helped me to put in this show is he told me about Sammy Davis Jr. I was about 10 years old and he was telling me all about this amazing entertainer, and he had an old VHS cassette of Sammy in concert that I watched over and over again, just enthralled with this, the greatest live entertainer of his time, of any time, some may argue. An incredible guy, played 20 instruments really well, danced, sung, acted, tap danced. So I'm sure a lot of you know about Sammy. He had a big hit, and his theme tune became a hit in his lifetime. And a lot of people think that this song was written about a guy called Bill Robinson. Now, Bill Robinson was considered to be the greatest tap dancer in the world in the 20s and 30s. He used to film a lot of films with Shirley Temple, the child star Shirley Temple. And Bill Robinson was quite a guy. He earned $2 million in his lifetime, the highest paid African American entertainer in history. And when he died, unfortunately, he was penniless. He gambled a lot of it away. And Ed Sullivan, the American talk show host, had to pay for his funeral. But his coffin was carried by Duke Ellington, Cole Porter, and Irving Berlin, 3 of the biggest names in music and show business. So he had this incredible life. He taught Fred Astaire how to do some dance steps. That's who we're talking about. And this song has absolutely nothing to do with him. It's my story. This song was written by a man called Jerry Jeff Walker. And Jerry Jeff Walker was a guitar player and a singer. And he used to travel across America doing shows. And one night he'd had a few too many beers and he got involved in a bit of a ruckus. He got put in a police cell for the night. And he shared the police cell with a hoofer. A hoofer. And the hoofer, they were dancers who used to busk on the street, dancing, doing like this sort of soft shoe shuffle with a little hat to try and get pennies entertainment on the street. And he got chatting to this guy and it inspired him to write this song. The guy didn't want to give his real name to the police, so he gave them the nickname of Bill Robinson, which was... is the song? Bojangles, yes, you see. Thank you, audience precipitation. Well done. This is my little tribute to Sam. I've got to put this back onto this song. Sorry. I've got to practice safe singing. Right. My little tribute to question number 3. Sam Davis. I knew a man, Bojangles cool. He played three instruments, but he played two really well. One of them was the piano. Don't leave, I'm coming back. And the other one I'm going to play for you tonight, because obviously we've all had a lot of free time during lockdown, and I thought it's about time that I learned to play it, and I've learned to play it well enough that I've put it in the show. So I'm going to play for you tonight a wonderful song on this harmonica. That flight case all around the country for that joke. It's not worth it, is it? So my granddad gave me this harmonica when I was about 10 years old, and I put it in a drawer and forgot about it. And then during lockdown I found it again, and I thought I'm going to teach myself to play the harmonica as a tribute to my grandfather. So I went on Amazon, because you can buy anything on Amazon, and I found a book, and it's true. I found a book called Teach Yourself to Play the Harmonica as a Tribute to Your Grandfather. What are the chances? And with the book, there was a CD, and on the CD there are backing tracks that you can play along to. It's a very quick way to learn an instrument. If you want to get into piano, saxophone, harmonica, whatever, you follow the instructions in the book, and then you play along to the backing track on the CD. So I've been practicing this song. It's an old song by Mr. Louis Armstrong, because he hasn't done any new ones recently. He's dead. Not you, Louis Armstrong. Okay. Stay with me. Okay. Louis Armstrong's Wonderful World. This is about 6 months of self-taught lessons, all during lockdown, so I hope you're impressed. I'm very proud of myself. Let's do this song. Love this song. I see skies of blue and clouds of white. What a wonderful world. One last thing about my granddad. One of the great things that happened after I was on Britain's Got Talent is that a lot of charities got in touch. It was amazing because, as I said, I've done this for a long time. I've always tried to do my bit. I've done a lot of charity shows over the years, but this was great because they were contacting me, and you felt you could make a difference. And it was all lockdown. It was all in my studio at home. But they were asking me if I could do like a ticketed show, and people could log on and watch the show and raise funds for all different charities. And it was the Royal British Legion that led to this next song. They got in touch and said exactly that. We're going to sell tickets. It was only a few weeks after I'd. So it was still very fresh. And they said, could you write a song for us? Because as I mentioned, this was happening a lot. I'll be honest, I'd never really thought of myself as a songwriter. I always wrote sort of little ditties and parodies and, love songs to ex-girlfriends and stuff. But the three biggest songs that I've written in my life are the three songs I did on BGT. So I've never really thought of it. All of a sudden, after that, people were saying, oh, lots of companies, corporate gigs, write us a song for such and such a company, and you've got a week. And it was difficult. I was sat in the studio. But it was great. I like a challenge. And this one was really hard because I've always written comedy. I always want my songs to be funny. The sound of laughter is the greatest sound in the world to me. And this was tough because it was the Royal British Legion and it made me think of my granddad. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write an unusual song in that it hasn't got any jokes in it. I hope you like the sentiment. It was inspired by my granddad. It's not all about my granddad, but it was certainly inspired by him. And it's called, it's called I Wish I Asked Him More. So this is sort of to my granddad. Not funny. He died when I was 18. What's wrong? He was a soldier, he went to war. Sometimes I asked what he was fighting for, but he'd tell me stories and I'd sit in thrall. I wish I'd asked him more. He married true love at 18. For 3 years their love went unseen. Though battle scarred, true love endured. I wish I'd asked him more. Stories of sixpences and shillings, front doors unlocked and neighbours willing. The history you live, the people you know. Tell me stories before you sharing lunches, but every lesson learned should teach us why gunfire was heard on beaches. I wish that we'd sat down before, I could have asked you more. In your drawer at your bedside are the medals and ribbons that just beside the poppy and pin that you wear in pride for the Legion by your side. Now your great-grandchildren are here, I tell them tales of the brigadier who for victory stood and faced his fear, and the Legion he held dear. Tell me of the years you shared with Grandma as the perfect pair, devoted love, years of care, those final months when she was scared. You held her hand and let her talk, often making no sense at all, but you were there and at nightfall, you held her when she called. I wish that we'd sat down before, I could have asked you more. Stories of sixpences and shillings, front doors unlocked and neighbours willing, the history you did, the people you know. Tell me stories before you go. The childhood that you gave my mum helped her raise her only son. When my life had just begun, because of you I'd won. As a parent now I hope to be the inspiration you were to me. We're all a part of history, I love our memories. The jokes you tell when you came round, I wish I wrote that laughter down. I'd see Mom's look as if you'd done wrong, but still I laughed along. The wink you'd share when you caught my eye, the hugs you gave when you saw me cry. Late at night, the lullabies, I never thought about goodbye. When you were older, I'd rush to see you standing there beside the street, outside the shops in cold November. The words writ large, we will remember. I'd feel so proud to see you there, the smartest British Legionnaire, speaking of your lost comrades, for our tomorrow they gave their today. So children, listen if you can see the slightest opportunity to sit upon your granddad's knee and listen to stories. Grasp every moment that you can, I guarantee Granddad O'Gran will have so many tales in store. I wish I'd asked my more. He was a soldier, he went to war, sometimes asked what he was fighting for, but he'd tell me stories and I'd sit and fall. I wish I'd asked him more. I wish I'd asked him more. Thank you. Okay. Now we're feeling thoroughly fed up. We're going to keep it for a while. We're nearly at the interval. You can go and refresh your drinks because the second half is going to be much better the more you've drunk. Trust me. We're going to finish the first half with a song. Obviously, one of the I'm sorry, Steve, I've got to say it. One of the prizes of winning the show is that I got to perform on the Royal Variety Show, which was a dream come true. I mean, that's a show that I watched with my family when I was growing up. You know, the glamour of the red carpet, the excitement of meeting the royal family. I had none of that. I had the glamour of television screens in the audience and the excitement of hand sanitizer. It was very different to having done it any other year, but at least it went ahead. It was sort of a sign of things to come that show carried on. They've only missed 1 year. I think it was during the London Blitz, so it's quite incredible. I got to be a part of it. And I was on stage with some incredible people. Michael Ball and I had he told me how great I was. Michael Ball, it was amazing. I was on stage with 1/5 of the Spice Girls. Mel C was there. 1/5 of Take That, a quarter of Take That, a third of Take That. Half. Is it just Gary now? I don't know. What we have to do. Anyway, Gary Barlow, Gazza. I call him Gazza now because we're like, calls me every day. I've had to block him. It's embarrassing. It was amazing. And Steps. I mean, I was on stage with Steps. Does it get any better than that? It was an amazing thing to be a part of. And I did a song on that show that I wrote for my wife because every year for the last 14 years, I've written a song for my wife at Christmas. On Christmas Eve, she gets a DVD or a USB or whatever it is. And I've written her an original song and I made a little video to go with it, and she gets that on Christmas Eve at midnight as a little present. And I apologise to anybody who's being glared at by their partner right now, saying, Trust me, I'm not normally that romantic. It's the only way I can make up for the stupid things that I do all the rest of the year. Things like not loading the dishwasher correctly. Never had a dishwasher. Just put the plates on the top, and then the next day they're back in the cupboard clean. That's a good dishwasher. I don't know how that works. Any other men here got that dishwasher? It's amazing, isn't it? It's just on the, yeah. I'm causing so many riffs. Right, so, I wrote the song forever, and it was called Cosmos of Christmas, and it was all about getting drunk at Christmas. And I'm not going to do it now because it's on YouTube and it's out there, and it's a Christmas song, so it's weird. I'm going to do the one that I wrote a couple of years earlier, because this is kind of cool. Both my kids are into Lego. My eldest is 16 now, my youngest is 10. My eldest loves building Lego, and my youngest likes destroying Lego. So imagine how much fun that is in our house. A constant cycle of destruction and construction, tantrums and tears and four-letter words, and then the kids get involved. It's time. But I wrote a song for my wife a couple of years ago called The Love Story of Lego. And I got my eldest son to help me with the video, because we made a video in stop motion. If you've watched Wallace and Gromit, that's stop motion with plasticine. So it takes, for a Wallace and Gromit film takes years, because they move it a fraction, they take a picture, and then they move it. And it takes 20 photos for 1 second of film. It takes years to make a movie. I made a 3-minute video, and it took about 2 weeks with the help of my eldest son, Nathan. So I hope you like this. This is the love story of Lego. Okay, listen, I always overrun the first half and I start chatting too much. We'll have a quick break. In the interval, we've started doing this little Q&A thing because in the second half I had a little chat, people were asking questions. Some people are a bit shy about asking it in public, or they've got a question that they're embarrassed about asking. So we do it online. If you've got Twitter, we're going to put a link up on the screen in the interval and a hashtag AskJohn. I've just realised the introduction to this sounds like Blind Date. Oh, plagiarism. That'll make you happy if your bladder is full. If you're single, you can mingle, maybe you can pull. If you're both at this show, then it's presumptuous that you've got the same taste in comical piano playing singers, so it's natural that you might stay in touch after the interval. And it gets too intense. It's that way to the ladies and the same way to the gents. See you in 20 minutes.
Part of the show.
Sorry, I think you're great, mate. I know you work really hard. Thank you so much. I've played a version of that in my show for years because I think if you play the piano, people almost expect you to play something vaguely classical, like the whole Rhapsody in Blue thing in the piano bars. And I love listening to classical music. I'm not a classical pianist. If you want to be a proper trained classical pianist, you've got to be prepared to practice every day for like 5 or 6 hours a day. And I had girlfriends when I was younger. I didn't have time to practice. My steadiest girlfriend, my longest term girlfriend, we were going together for a long time. And I remember when we broke up, just how happy my wife was. Joking, she's never happy. But you've got, classical music. It's quite impactful. It can make you excited. It can make you sad. And I don't know if you recognise some of the tunes in there. A bit of Tchaikovsky, bit of Debussy, bit of Chopin, a bit of Bach. Some of you are just nodding and agreeing with me. Bit of Beethoven. Can I get it? Beethoven. What was Beethoven's favourite fruit? Banana. I think my first girlfriend inspired me to learn classical music. When I was 18, I fell in love for the first time. She was much older than me. She was 35. She was a wonderful classical piano player, and she inspired my love of classical music and older women. Which luckily was the same time I started working on cruise ships, so that worked out. It's not true nowadays. The cruise industry is that there's lots of family audiences, but there are still a lot of cruises that only cater to the more mature passengers. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not being ageist. You've got to be very careful nowadays. You can't pick on people for their age because you're being ageist. You can't pick on people for their sex because you're being sexist. You can't pick on people if they run marathons because that's racist. You've got to be very careful. I'm not being ageist, but some of the audiences were more mature than others. Sometimes the portholes were bifocal. That was always a giveaway. Sometimes at the end of my show there wasn't a dry seat in the house. Generally it was a good experience. And yeah, my first girlfriend, she was actually half French. There was a Richard Clayderman bit in the middle there. Did you hear anybody remember Richard Clayderman? Yeah, his music is still very popular in lifts. John Lewis, he's French. Of course, so my first girlfriend was half French, but I think she was half French. I always wondered why she only shaved under one arm. My next girlfriend was half Brazilian. That was much more exciting. Question number 4. I wasn't going to tell you about classical music. I come on where I was going with that. BGT. Let me tell you some gossip about BGT. So. I got the Golden Buzzer, which meant I went straight through to the semi-finals, and I had to write a song for the semi-finals. And I came up with this idea of writing a song about my mum and dad, because they inspired me growing up. They were both on stage, and I used to go and watch them doing shows. And so I came up with this idea of writing a song about them, and showing some old pictures of them when they were on stage. And Beth, who was the creative director of Britain's Got Talent, she's a force of nature. If you see anything crazy on that show, like pyrotechnics or people flying through the air on wires, that's normally Beth. She comes up with some crazy ideas. And she said, I think for you, we're going to keep it quite simple. We're going to project pictures of your family onto the top of the white piano. I said, that sounds very nostalgic and lovely. But it did mean we had to have some extra rehearsals. We had 2 days of rehearsal to make sure that the right pictures were on the piano at the right moment in the song when I was singing about them. And that every camera was in the right angle, because the studios were huge. There was about 30 cameras. Some of them were on cranes, some of them whizzed along on wires. They were carrying on shoulders. Amazing experience. So they had to make sure that was very well rehearsed. Every camera angle had to be right. So 2 days of rehearsal. And then on the 3rd day, we recorded the show. Now, they were very strict about the recording. Normally, if you're recording a TV show and it's not live, if you go wrong, you can stop and start again, and you keep doing it until you get it right. But because this was a competition and they wanted you to vote and potentially phone up and spend money to vote, they weren't allowed to record anything twice. So whatever you did, it had to be as live. You had to pretend it was live. And obviously, you had a big virtual wall, even though there wasn't an actual live audience. So that's important to remember, because it came to the recording. I was nervous, obviously, but we had 2 days of rehearsals, so I was sort of quietly confident. And I sat down and I started, and the pictures appeared just as we rehearsed. And then halfway through the song, I might have got a little bit too relaxed because I forgot the words to my song that I wrote. I forgot the words, and I knew we couldn't stop. But it's that horrible feeling of knowing that something's going wrong and there's nothing you can do about it. And you can tell the moment, if you watch it back on YouTube, you can see the moment when my eyes go a little bit wider as my buttocks clench uncontrollably. Everything tenses up. Does that happen to you? No, just me. You couldn't get a bus ticket between the cheeks of my bum. To be honest, I was devastated. I'd waited my whole career for this opportunity, and now I've messed it up. I've gone wrong, and I improvised for a couple of minutes until I found it. I thought I can't remember, so I skipped to the end of the song. I cut half the song out. The song was meant to be 4 minutes, and it was 2.5 minutes. Which meant 2 days of rehearsals went out the window. I think there's what's called the gallery is above the studio, and that's where the director and the senior producer, and they've got the headphones and the headsets, and they're talking to the cameraman. Okay, camera 3, and just like we rehearsed, camera 2, and camera. Oh my God, what the hell? And they're looking at this, and they suddenly realise. I can only imagine what the language was like when they realised that they weren't allowed to stop. But I decided to change everything at the end of the song. They covered it pretty well. When I watched it back, when I watched the broadcast back, it was through clenched fingers because I was so worried. And I think they covered it, but at the time, I was devastated. I was so upset. This is the truth. When I walked off stage and I got off camera, I burst into tears, and I had to walk into the car park of the studio, crying my eyes out, convinced that I'd ruined this opportunity that I'd waited my whole life for. And it was about 45 minutes while the other performers did their thing, before I had to come back on at the end, and we all stood there for the judges to talk to us. I was still quite red-eyed, and I was just upset. And then they said the loveliest things about me. And David Williams said there should be another golden buzzer because that was just like, and I was stood there like, but I went wrong. And then it occurred to me, they'd never heard the song before. They had no idea that I'd messed up. It wasn't like I was singing a Frank Sinatra tune or Whitney Houston. They'd never heard the song. Andy Deck had never heard the song. They were there for rehearsals, but not for the whole thing. So they say all these lovely things. I'm very confused. And then you hear Ant say, John, you look confused. You look surprised. And you just see me going, couldn't even speak. I was all emotional again, thinking, how have I got away with this? So all credit to the producers and the directors for covering it and making it look as seamless as they did. And then Amanda chose me to go straight through the finals as the judge's choice. You could have knocked me over with a feather. So it does mean that we now have a Chorley Theatre exclusive. You get to hear the whole version of the song with all the bits that were missed out on the night, with all the pictures that we missed out to, and a couple that I might have added because I wouldn't have got away with it on the show. So this is when I was there. We actually have a picture. That's it. That's me when I was a boy. I'm about 3 years old. Thanks. I'm the one on the right. Although I did meet a very rich lady after my audition at the London Palladium, and she spent a lot of money to try and look like the one on the left. Look for this, Alex. Don't ever go for it. Trust me. There we were again for some more BGT. I never dreamed the semis would include me. How could this be real? It must be a hoax. I'm just a piano man with a bunch of bad dad jokes. Do you know what the longest hair is in the human body? No, John, please tell us. The longest hair in the human body is the eyelash. Is it, John? Yes, it is. The eyelash grows inwards. Does it, John? Yes, it does. It grows over the top of your head, down your back, and out your bum. And if you don't believe me, try pulling your hair out your bum and watch your eyes move. We had no live audience for the semi, just you at home watching on TV. We were one judge down, so thanks Ashley. Cycling for Simon is unhealthy, electrically apparently. As for me, I was outside Tesco 2 meters apart, hand sanitizer, gloves and a mask. So I was unrecognisable for people to ask, were you on BGT? It's a pain in the ask me why I do. Guess that they understood inspiration from Chaplin to Victoria Wood. As a child I saw variety shows on the screen, wanting to be Billy Connolly, Elton or Queen. My hair no longer grows, just out my ears and out my nose. My forehead now has met my neck, but no forehead jokes, it upsets Ant and Dec. Ant and Dec go together like Robin and Batman, like Phil and Holly, like Simon and Fake Tan. The greatest double act the world ever had was Carolyn and I, that's my mum and dad. They were on stage long before I was born. As a child I would sit there just shouting for more. They'd take me backstage, naked dancers I'd see. I decided show business was the business for me. I keep all the photos as I'm growing old, cause memories like this are more precious than gold. I made an album so I can reminisce when I look. Then I go back to putting pictures of my dinner on Facebook. When I was 11, in my first spotlight, I was nervous and shaking and damning stage fright, but I knew this was it, this was my life for me, so I let out my breath and a little bit of weed. He taught me piano, I'd watch them both sing. I'd seen the laughter they gave and the applause that it brings. And though they dreamed of fame and to be on TV, they were always the biggest stars in the world to me. For 45 years they were barely apart, but there wasn't a day when I didn't hear them laugh. Like when Dad dropped a glass of chocolate milk in the bath. When we saw the mess, he said, I only meant to fart. Dad was still laughing till his final bow, and the memories of him make us laugh even now. Mum said never give up, and she knows I love her, but even she never dreamed I'd get a golden buzzer. My children have watched me from their youngest age, bring music and laughter from upon the stage, just like I watched my mum, and her dream comes true now. She gets to be on TV at Chorley Theatre. Mum, take a bow. And that's when Amanda bursts into tears. She cries at everything, it doesn't count. Your family may be crazy, they may drive you round the bend. Your kids may drive you insane, it's a never-ending spend. But my mum always told me, be proud of who you are. So now I tell my children, always reach for the stars. Thank you very much. Right, we've had some questions. I was looking at Twitter backstage. So we won't have time to answer them all because we actually have quite a few. But we can have a look. I was going to come down here because it makes it easier to chat. Don't panic, I won't touch you. Okay, let's go here. Right, we've got to be quite quick at this because I know some of you have got car parks to get back to. And this, oh, they're still coming in. Stop asking me questions. We've got. Okay. I haven't looked at all that's a new one. Okay, so I won't ask you to announce who you are because you might have done this with the track. But the Minstrel Chorley. How many auditions are there before the live auditions? That's a good question because if you're a member of the public and you're not in the business, you're not professional, there are a couple of pre-auditions. And this I just think this was cool back in the day. Since Simon had Eric, his son, he has Mello. I've noticed over the years, you don't see as much train wreck on the shows you used to. You used to put a lot of acts on that shouldn't have been there. And we all, obviously I was supposed to watch it as well. But the truth is, they've been seen by producers before they went in front of the judges. And the producers have had a word and gone, that's awful. That's going to make great telly. And told them that they should go and audition in front of Simon. Which is, it's almost like gladiatorial, so it's a bit cruel. But they don't do that as much anymore. But so there are pre-auditions. But I don't know whether it's all the professionals. Steve can probably say this. Actually, did you have to do a pre-audition or did you go straight through? I think that's what they tend to do. You said I had to send a video in of whatever I wanted to do, and they said, yeah, we love that song. And then next thing I was at the Palladium and doing a sound check, and then the next thing I'm in front of the judges. So that's kind of lucky. I think if you're a professional, they give you that courtesy of not doing the pre-audition. But normally there can be up to 3 pre-auditions. So that answers that question. Fab show so far, John. Girls from Whittle the Woods Primary. Oh, hi, who are you? Get beyond the last bit of shout. Hi, girls from the primary school. Hi. Not actual girls from the school. Are you here alone? Okay. Now, Rosanna's asked 25 questions. And we're only going to go for one. Do you want to throw it up? You want, Rosanna? You don't have to. No. Oh, hi. How are you? Okay. The last one you typed, how much are you worth, John? And how much did you give to Ant and Dec? I didn't bribe them to give me the gold buzzer. What am I worth? I don't know. But I use L'Oreal shampoo, so I don't know what I'm worth. Where are you originally from? I'm originally from Weymouth. I was born in Weymouth on the south coast, and then East Anglia. I grew up, and now I live near Manchester. Literally, you've been really busy, Rosanna. We'll have a
Sorry,
chat afterwards,
I got
I'll answer the
bored.
rest of
Sorry.
it.
No.
Sorry?
Sorry.
And we can have a chat afterwards, it's fine. Provided you're not a bit of a weird stalker. Do you speak to Simon Cowell?
Right, go on.
Yes. Who's the most famous person you performed for? Well, that's kind of cool. Well, I've been quite lucky really. I knew Robbie Williams quite well and Take That were going crazy, and Rob used to come and watch my shows. And that was weird, because at the time Take That was the biggest thing in the world. When I was 18, Rob was 17. The word would come out, because his dad was my entertainment manager at the hotel. Pete used to stand up comedian, lovely guy. So Rob used to come and visit his dad, and he'd watch my show. But word would get out that Rob was there, and I'd find myself doing a show to the backs of a lot of people's heads. Because they'd be looking at Robbie, and I'd be like, hello, I'm here on stage. So, but Rob's lovely. So probably Robbie and Princess Diana. I sung for Princess Diana, which was absolutely amazing. She was just so lovely. So there's another story there that we've got time for. Love your shoes. Where did you get them from? Okay, well, I did tell my friends before the show that I wasn't going to tell this story, but I didn't go into too much detail. I'll tell you the story if you want, because there's not as many people here as there have been at some show. This is a terrible story, and it makes me feel slightly sick, but I'm going to tell it to you. So on BGT, they let you keep the clothes. Obviously not for the audition, because they don't know who you are. That was my blue jacket that I wore the first night. That was my audition jacket, and this is my final jacket that they let me keep. And there was a nice shirt and nice trousers, and for the semi-finals, nice pair of shiny black shoes. And you get to keep all that. They just say you keep whatever we get. So for the finals, Beth, the creative director, said we've got this idea of having like a black piano with red lights underneath it. I said, oh, that would look like a Christian Louboutin shoe, because the Christian Louboutins have famous red soles. And she said, yes, that's what I was thinking. So I jokingly said, well, I better have a pair of Christian Louboutins then. She went, yes, brilliant. I went, really? All right. So they bought me a £900 pair of Christian Louboutin shoes, which you can see I'm wearing in the front. It's got spikes on the front, they're really funky. And 5 minutes before I went down to film my finals, a runner, there's these guys that run around just doing all the jobs for the producers, a runner arrived at my dressing room and he said, John, I've got a message from the head of costume, we're going to need the shoes back after the show. I'm not really into shoes, but they were an amazing pair of shoes. I said, they're Christian Louboutin. So I'm really sorry we told they need them back. I said, but I've already worn them, and once you've scratched the sole of a Christian Louboutin, because the red sole, as soon as it's scratched, you can't return them. So if you're going to try them on at home, you've got to do it on carpet. And I've been outside and been walking around. I said, you can't take them back. He went, I'm just telling you what I've been told, I'm really sorry. So I swear to this day, the head of costumes got my shoes in his wardrobe, because there's no way they went back to Christian Louboutin. He just wanted them for himself. So anyway, I finished filming, of course, sorry Steve, but I won. And he came backstage and he said, people are actually coming up to me in the interval and saying, isn't he being mean to you? I'm joking, people, it's fine. He doesn't care. After I got back to the dressing room, obviously I was on cloud 9, it had been incredible. And that runner was there, literally with his hand out, waiting for the shoes. And to be fair, he said, you have just won a lot of money, you can buy your own. I went, all right, fair point. So I gave him that. So fast forward a couple of weeks later, and my wife said, come on, we're going to go into town, and we're going to buy you a pair of Christian Louboutin shoes to wear on your tour. And I said, I can't do it. I said, I can't spend that sort of money on a pair of shoes. Even if I was a multi-millionaire, that's insane, £900 a pair of shoes. She went, you deserve it, come on, you never buy anything, and you can wear them on the tour, so it'll be tax deductible. So we went to a big store in Manchester, and a posh shop, and they had a big display of Christian Louboutin shoes. And these shoes were in the middle of the display. They're Swarovski crystals, and they're in the middle of the display, and they had all the spotlights on. And she went, oh my God, I said, they would look amazing. So I put them on, I tried them on. And the shop assistant waltzed over, and I'm not being rude or anything, but this is what, hello sir, nice to see you. Got to say those shoes look absolutely marvellous on you. I went, yeah, they are pretty cool, aren't they? So they're really catching the eye. I said, can I ask, are you wearing them for an event? Are you wearing? I said, well, when I started talking, as I'm talking, Emma's Googled me and shown him the finals clip and said, that's it, because we've all got masks on and stuff. He went, oh my God! My mum's your biggest fan! I went, that's nice. I said, oh, this is really unprofessional. He said, could you do a little video for my mum? I said, of course. Can you discount these shoes? And he said, no. He said, we're not allowed to, even we don't get discount on them. When we work here, he said, I'm afraid they are £2,500. That's what I did. So I'm sorry, I thought you said 2.5. They said, yes, they've just come out, they're brand new, every crystal is stuck on by hand. I said, let me stop you. I don't care if it makes me a cup of tea. They're £2,500 for a pair of shoes. I said, I very carefully unlaced them and took them off, and very carefully put them on the velvet bag that they come in. In the meantime, he's handed me his phone. I've gone over and he's opened it up for his mum. I've been to school. Hey, Mum, John Courtney here. Hey, big fella. And I finish the thing and I come back and the shoes are in a box with a gift bow around and he hands them to me. And I went, what? He went, your wife just bought them for you. No. She used my bank account. So that's where they're from. And every time I put them on, I did give a large amount to charity to try and make myself feel a bit better. But it's just disgusting, isn't it? No company should cost that much money. I think there were a couple of others. I think there is gossip. Somebody that our Ant and Dec really that nice. They really are. I wish I could tell you that they give you some scandal and say they're horrible, but they really are nice. There is a little bit of gossip from the show, I guess, which you won't know. That song that I just did about for my parents, that wasn't the song I was meant to do in the semi-finals. I'd written another song just after my audition. I was the last act on at the Palladium, so we were there all day. It's a really long day, and I was the last guy to perform. And it was about 11 o'clock at night. So it meant when I finished, especially because I got the golden buzzer, all the judges came off the stage and Ant and Dec. Normally they're quick to get on with the show and get the next person out, but I was the last one. So there was a lot. We got to hang out with the judges and Ant and Dec, and there was champagne, and it was a really lovely experience. And as we were leaving the theatre, I might have fallen down the steps. A lot of champagne. And my wife caught me, and she said, "John, don't die. That would be a waste of the golden buzzer." Seriously. And we both fell out laughing because that was really funny. We'd had champagne. So on the train on the way home, I thought, that's really funny. I'm going to try and write a song about that. And I wrote a song called I Must Not Die. And it was basically all about the ways that I could ruin this incredible opportunity that I'd now been given by Ant and Dec and VGT. As I say, waited my whole career for this, and now I was going to go onto this huge show. And as I say, this was in January. We filmed it in January, 4 months before all the craziness. So on the train on the way home, I pretty much wrote the song. This sort of funny, comedic, darkly funny song about everything that could go wrong. I could break a finger, I could break my arm, I could get sick, or I could die. That would really ruin my career. And a couple of weeks later, once I sort of finished it and the music, I sent it to the producers because they're okay with it. And I said, I think I've written a song for the semi-finals. And they got back to me and said, yes, we love it. It's funny, it's original, it's a bit weird, but we really like it. You should definitely do it on the show. I said, amazing. One less thing to worry about. And then I started doing all the press and everything that you do when you get the golden buzzer. And it was amazing. So that was in January. Fast forward to March the 23rd, and the UK went into lockdown. You might have heard about it, it was in the papers. It wasn't until the first week of April that I got a nervous phone call from a senior producer of Britain's Got Talent, because they're not allowed to tell you what you can and can't do on the show, unless it's unbroadcastable or offensive, because it's a competition. They can only suggest, you might want to try this, they can't actually tell you. So he phoned me and said, John, we suggest that you don't do that song on the show. And I said, but what? I said, this 4 months ago you said it was fantastic. They said it is fantastic, and we love the song. But now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and your song's called I Must Not Die. I said, but I didn't write it about the pandemic. I wrote it in January. They said, it doesn't matter. They said, there's even a line in the song that says, I won't catch a disease without a cure. I said, no, you're quite right. Obviously, so many people were suffering unimaginably. And so I wrote that song instead for my mum and dad. It worked out really well. Obviously, it worked out really well. But it does mean that I now have a brand new original song, as yet unheard, unless you were in Barnsley 2 days ago. Would you like to hear it? Yeah! Oh, good, because I was going to do it anyway. So please remember, this has nothing to do with lockdown or COVID. This was written in January, but it is about all the ways that I could ruin this huge opportunity, and it is called I Must Not Die. It's a happy song. On the edge of my success, I don't want to make a mess of this opportunity that I have got. In these crazy circumstances, I don't want to take chances with my Britain's Got Talent semi-final slot. I can't think of any reason why for this 14th season I couldn't be a possible hot shot. The only problem I can see could ruin any chance for me is if I'm dead. And I've thought of this a lot. I must not die. That would be quite traumatic if I die. It could be problematic, so I'll try to remain emphatically alive. I must not die. My would be the final curtain if I died. Then I think I'm fairly certain that I'd cry, but my eyes would not be working, they'd be dry. I must not die. Since I was on TV, I've had advice from family with the greatest of intentions, I am sure. Don't experiment with chemicals, socialize with cannibals, or catch a disease without a cure. It's not on my agenda to put hands inside a blender or drink water that is anyway impure. So it must be safe to say that at the end of every day there is a good chance that my life will still endure. And now the bridge I'm gonna croon. The bridge is the part of the song that has a different tune, but bridges can be another fatality. Like a bridge over troubled water, London Bridge is falling. The road bridge groans in Indiana Jones, but Indy didn't die. Just like James Bond, you always can rely. The bullets will always miss him when they fly, leaving him to wittily reply, "No, Miss Moneypenny, I don't expect to die." Old school, Sean Connery. I can't do Daniel Craig. My wife wants to. Question number 5. I'm not dead like Shakespeare's Romeo, Mufasa killed by buffalo. Don't want to be a cameo, too early to say cheerio. Just want to play the piano and make it to another show. That's why I must not die. Everything died. That's not what was meant to happen. Seriously, everything's died. What's happened?
Plug in.
Put the plug in, yeah, tell my tape. Honestly, that wasn't meant to be the It kind of works. Have we tripped it again? We did that. Then you did right. Well, you're gonna come and fix that while I talk to you. Thank God Roseanne asked me another 30 questions.
450 beer, Eater.
The what? Right, I'll just leave that to... No, honestly, that wasn't meant to happen. I can't even begin to tell you what was meant to happen. But it'll be up to, it won't work if I explain. Can you still hear me out there, or is it just...
Yeah.
Right, so, thanks for coming, and good night. What's happened? Have I blown up the fuse box? I'm intrigued. Oh no, we've got power back.
Hey!
That would have been a really sad ending. Oh, I'm on monitors. Okay, brilliant.
It wasn't me, John.
Oh,
I've been wishing it, but it wasn't me.
how long have you sat there waiting to shout that out? Oh, I got a good night! Right. Are we good, Paul? Is that all right? Yeah? Brilliant. What happened? Did I trip it all? Brilliant. Okay. Well done, Paul. Paul fixed it. Well done. Okay. Well, I have got to go. We're at the end of the show. So the final song. This is kind of interesting because being the judge's choice, obviously, again, I had a bit of a head start because I knew I was going to definitely be in the finals thanks to Amanda's decision. So I thought I've got to write about what's going on. Obviously, the whole world has been affected, and as a comedian and as a songwriter, you want to write stuff that people can relate to. Because that just gives it that angle. And for me, the best comedians, if I'm watching people like Michael McIntyre and Peter Gayle, they say something, you go, yes, I do that, or I know someone, and you relate to it immediately. And if you can put that into a song, it can be really effective. So I said to the producers, I'm going to write something about COVID, lockdown, what people are going through. And their faces, they went, really? Sure? Because you're the funny piano man that tells dad jokes. We're not sure you should be tackling something like that. I went, no, I've got to. I said, it'd be weird not to. I said, don't worry. I won't be offensive and I won't make light of what's been happening because people have been suffering. That's what they were worried about. And you know what? I thought I could do it quickly because I can write songs quickly. In 2 weeks and I had nothing. And I was like, I don't know how to start approaching this song without upsetting people or making people think that I was making fun of it, because that would be terrible. And I thought, do you know what? How have I been coping? Because like many of you, no doubt, there were days when I felt completely overwhelmed by what was going on in the world. And I had a wobble. We called it a wobble in our house. There were days when myself, my wife, my kids, we had a wobble. And during those days of having a wobble, for me, to help get through it, I focused on the small things around me that I could control. Little things that I could do, like taking the dogs for a walk, or listening to an audio book out in the sun, or doing some colouring in with my kids, or trying on my wife's underwear. Whatever it was, whatever it was that I could do, that I could control, that would help me to deal with the big things in the world that I couldn't control. And I thought maybe that's the idea of the song, and I'll call it Small Things, and that's what it'll be about. And it went better than I could ever have imagined. I won, Steve. Do you know what's really sad? Steve used to have piano lessons when he was younger. And I used to juggle. Moments in your life don't get much bigger than this. It's a milestone like a wedding or a teenager's first kiss. But to be here in Chorley is feeling slightly woo! I want champagne and caviar. I've got Vimto and battered cod. And though this moment overwhelms me, the question must be asked: do we sometimes miss the small things as life goes by so fast? Mosquitoes are only tiny, but they can drive you mad. So never underestimate small things that make you glad. My wife makes me happy, and she'll be there if I call. I got undressed and she got stressed when she realized it's just small things. The last shoes in the sale, being the right size. My baby's expression when they're having a food. Looking in a junk drawer and finding a pen. Fitting a size 8 if you were usually a 10. Small things that make you happy, small things that make you laugh. Bubbles make kids giggle if they're jumping in the bath. Art rocks are happy if it's alphabetical. Dogs will always wag their tails if they can lick their ball games, make kids happy when they're playing, having fun. I wasn't happy when the schools closed and I had to teach my sons. I was happy when Boris told me I could finally hug my mum. But I was happiest in lockdown, finding loo roll for my bum. Ants and Dec are happy when they take home an award, so they've been pretty happy since 1994. Their first award was 1995, but that didn't rhyme. You gotta seize the moment, you just live once, I hear you say. But that's not true, you die once, but you must live every day. Smile as if they told you there's no need to quarantine. When you love invented, happiness is in your genes. I love that joke. Happiness is small things like being with our friends. Little things like when the Queen said we'll meet again. On Thursdays on our doorsteps with pride inside our chests. Taking just a moment to clap the NHS. And it won't be long before the masks are gone. We'll be living life to the maximum. And we'll remember people like Sir Captain Tom. And in years our kids will be reminiscing, not about the big stuff they've been missing, but that every day they got to play with Dad and Mum. And we'll remember that we were strong when McDonald's was closed for so very long. But Britain's talent will be that we all carry on. Bring in the flag, you don't see it enough. Or not. And talent will be that we all carry on. To be here now, to get this far, for you to make me feel like a star. For gratitude, I don't know you, but I had my doubts. But the answer is so simple and so smart. You'll realize through it all, the moments that you thought were small can take the biggest places in your heart. And if you're lucky, your family plays the biggest part. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming to the show.